Hello. Hello, Christian Church in the Upper Midwest. I wish I could be there with you in person. I'm so glad to be with you here virtually, but I wish I could be there with you all in person. Your region is phenomenal and has so many people I love in it, so many congregations and ministries that I deeply admire and respect. So I wish I could be there with you in person, but I'm so glad to be there with you in this way and to be meeting some new people virtually. Welcome. We're glad you're here. My name is Reverend Allison Lanza. I am the founder and co executive director of Be the Neighbor. Be the Neighbor is a disciples and UCC United Church of Christ service and learning mission trip ministry. Our mission is to empower groups to put their faith into action through service and justice in ways that are relational, sustainable, and dignity affirming, and to equip our groups and participants with the biblical, theological, and social tools to make service and justice a way of life. We want groups to come on trips with us to learn new ways to connect with their neighbors, to understand and think about the injustices that face us and that face our community, that face our neighbors, and to learn how we can make a difference in it. How do we love our neighbors where we are with what we have? How do we work for justice where we are so that we can create communities more like the world God dreams of, more like the kingdom of God we imagine, where everyone is safe, where everyone is loved, where everyone has what they need to thrive. So that's what we do. And that's what I wanted to share more with you all about today. A little bit about our trips and how you can be a part of our ministry, and also about how you might think around the mission, the outreach, the service and justice that your congregation does, and how you might take some steps to transform it to make it even more powerful in your community. We are a united ministry, a newly united ministry of Connect Ministries, which I founded 6 years ago in Fort Worth, Texas, where many of your churches in your region have been on trips with us. So a uniting of Connect Ministries and then Reach Beyond Mission. Reach Beyond Mission was founded by our phenomenal other co-executive director, Reverend Mary Lou Johnston, out of Austin, Texas. Connect Ministries has focused on how do we help people connect with their neighbors where they live. We are often so disconnected. Many of the problems we see in our communities, underlying it is that we don't know how to help each other. We don't know the needs of our neighbors. Oftentimes, we don't even know our neighbors whose life situation is different than ours. And so we either just ignore our neighbors because we don't know them and their needs, or sometimes we fear our neighbors because we don't know them as people. So our mission with Connect Trips is how do you connect with your neighbors, especially those whose life experiences might be different than yours, so that we can work together with each other, not doing ministry to or for or at anybody, but work with each other to make our communities better and safer and stronger and places where all are loved. So that's our mission at Connect. Our mission at Reach is to help people see beyond their neighborhood. How are the issues and the concerns that I face, that my neighbors face, how are those a part of larger issues, of larger systemic injustices and pains and problems? And how can I be a part of fixing that, of getting to the root cause, of seeing what might be causing this, and helping to do justice around this, to advocate, to change policies, to make a difference? So on our Be the Neighbor organization, we still have Connect Trips and Reach Trips. We have Connect Trips in Fort Worth and Dallas and Tucson and Kansas City and Nashville that focus on refugee welcome and hunger relief and urban poverty and its effects, particularly on families and children. In Tucson, we focus on immigration and welcome and God's call we see throughout the biblical stories, throughout the narratives, to welcome the stranger, to remember that we were strangers once. What do we do with that, especially on our borders? We have our trip in Kansas City that focuses on Justice 101. How do we take what we've been doing in our congregations, this amazing service, direct relationship with our neighbors, and also work on addressing the root causes that affect the problems that our neighbors see? And then in Nashville, we have one around homelessness and housing justice. We have reach trips in Chicago and Austin and Tulsa and Albuquerque that focus on creation care, that focus on food and hunger justice, that focus on racial equity and reconciliation, that focus on indigenous cultures and communities, and particularly how do we partner with and learn about people whose cultures are different than ours that live by us. We would love for you to join us on one of these trips. These trips are open to youth. They're open intergenerationally. Those are my favorite types of trips because when we all come and learn together of all ages and backgrounds and then go back home, we are all asking the same questions and excited around the same thing at the same time. We are ready to launch, to make a difference in our community in brand new ways. Launching people to do this work in brand new ways is a huge part of what we do and what we're about. You'll do important things while you're with us. You'll work with our long-term partners. But our main goal is for you to do that same work of God's justice and love when you go back home. To neighbor, to be a good neighbor, to learn how to neighbor in new ways when you return home. And so if you come on a trip with us, we'll email you a couple of months later and say, how's it going? How's that project that you planned going? How are you living out your call in new ways? So we will help you to launch, to do that in your own community. We'd love for you to come on a trip with us, intergenerationally, youth, adults, college students. Most of our trips are in the summer, but we also would love to welcome you at spring break, on a winter trip, on a weekend. Any way you want to come join us, we want to partner with you and the amazing work you're already doing in your community to neighbor, to work with your neighbors, to make a difference where you are. So that's what I want us to think through next. How might you make a difference where you are? Think about a ministry that your church is already involved in, a place you're already partnering with your neighbors, a place that if you were to disappear, your congregation were to disappear, the neighborhood, the community would notice, would miss this way you're already connecting. How are you already putting your faith into action, praying with your feet, being relevant in your community? You got it? You got it in your head? Okay, so just think of one of them. Now I want you to think, how does this involve service? We talk about service in terms of meeting an immediate need. How are you meeting the immediate needs of the people in your community? And how does it involve justice? We talk about justice as addressing a problem at its root cause, understanding the systemic nature, and going deep to address the problem at the root cause so the need is not still there. You see, they're both important, right? If we only ever did service, we're going to get burnt out. Some of us already are. The needs just keep piling up. We keep providing an amazing dinner, but people are still hungry tomorrow. So if we only do service, we're going to get tired. We're going to run out of resources. If we only do justice, if we only work to make sure that all of our neighbors have jobs where they receive a living wage, that there are no food deserts in our community, that everyone has access to good, healthy food, that's great, but what about the people who are hungry today? We need both. So how are you addressing the issue with both service and justice? How are you doing this in ways that are relational, sustainable, and dignity affirming? Relational, we talk about, means doing it with our neighbors, not at or to or for them, but with them. I was a chaplain at a homeless shelter, and our residents, many of them, hated when churches would come and bring dinner. And I didn't understand it until I witnessed it. Most churches would come in, stand behind the counter, serve the meal, never talk to our residents or our guests. They would look at me and say, what's wrong with them? How did they end up here? What's their story? But they would never talk to our guests. It made our guests feel pitied and less than. We had one group who would seem like a terrible group on paper. They would come in, they didn't bring their own dinner, they didn't do any of their resources, but they sat with our neighbors. They came monthly, they built relationships, they got to know them. Our groups loved when they came. How do you do it sustainably? In ways that don't burn your church out, that don't burn you out, that partner. We don't do anything without a partner. Everything we do together. You don't get as much credit, but you get to make an even more powerful difference. And how do you do it dignity affirming? How do you do it in ways that makes everyone, all of us, feel and know the beloved child of God we are? We can't wait to neighbor with you, to follow God's call, to love our neighbors, to do justice, to love kindness, and to do it together, walking humbly with God who's guided us in this way. You have a paper where you can learn more about our Be the Neighbor trips, how you can become a part of our neighborhood, supporting our ministry, how we might partner with you all. We'd love to welcome you on a trip. I'd love to be able to call you to talk to your congregation, to talk to your outreach team, to help you figure out and partner with you as you neighbor in new ways. It's wonderful to be with you, church. Thank you for all the ways you put your faith into action each and every day.